Change is not a gift life hands to someone simply because they've been patient. It's the result of the decisions you make when no one is watching, the actions you repeat until they become second nature. Waiting for a new job, a new relationship, or an unexpected turning point only keeps you still while time keeps moving. Life doesn't change color just because you hope it will. It changes only when you take the brush and paint it yourself. Real change is not a sudden explosion, nor is it born from a fleeting wave of inspiration. It unfolds quietly, like drops of water wearing away stone bit by bit, day after day, through the choices you make when no one is pushing you. It's in waking up earlier to take a deep breath instead of curling up with your phone, in saying no to what no longer fits, in reading one more page when others have already given up. Each of these small acts doesn't just alter your day, they reshape the person you are becoming. It's easy to believe you need a major event to transform you. But the truth is, big events only create openings. Whether those openings become turning points depends on your daily habits and awareness. You can choose to start your morning in noise or in stillness, in hurried reactions or in deliberate intention. You can keep looping through yesterday or open a new chapter. The deciding factor is not your circumstances, it's you. Change doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It demands that you act even when you don't. It begins when you stop searching for reasons and start searching for ways. It happens when you stop asking when and start asking what now. True change is not a matter of the future. It happens in this very moment when you decide not to let yourself be pulled back by old stories. It's when you ask, what would happen if I became the best version of myself? And you start living like that person today. Each day you repeat that choice, you rewrite your own programming. The mind is like soil. Whatever you plant will grow. If you keep sowing procrastination, self-doubt, and outdated habits, you will harvest a life that never changes. But if you keep planting discipline, focus, and intentional action, you will harvest a new self. And that new self is the key to unlocking a new life. You cannot expect tomorrow to be different from today if you repeat exactly what you did today. Change doesn't require you to know all the answers. It only asks that you take the next step. Because with just one step different from yesterday, you've already laid the foundation for a new direction. And as you keep placing those bricks, the old walls of limitation will begin to crumble. Change begins with you, not with someone else, not with a miracle, but with the actions you choose to repeat, starting today, starting now. Morning is the starting line of your entire day, yet not everyone sees its true value. The moment you open your eyes, you stand at a crossroads, repeat the past, or step into the future. The few minutes before the world rushes in, before your phone buzzes, before demands and requests find you are the purest stretch of time you'll get all day. It's quiet, untouched, and fleeting. You only have minutes, maybe a handful of them, to decide whether you will give control of this day to yourself or to the world outside. Most people lose this golden hour without even realizing it. They open their phone before they open their window, read messages before they feel their own breath, scroll through social media before they've even looked inward. Within minutes, a mind that was still pure has been filled with noise, images, comparisons, and pressure. From there, the day no longer feels fresh. It becomes just another copy of all the days before it. The morning is not extra time to kill. It is the moment you set the rhythm, the energy, and the direction for your day. If you begin in haste and reactivity, your mind will carry that state until night. If you begin in stillness and intention, everything that follows will be guided by clarity. The difference between a disciplined day and a distracted one is often decided within the first hour. One morning hour spent aligning your inner world can shift your entire trajectory. It's not an hour to hide from the world or indulge the ego. It's an hour to put everything in its place. It's when you reinforce your values, set your mindset, and choose what will receive your energy today. The golden hour doesn't have to be complicated. It could be sitting in silence for a few minutes, listening to your breath, writing down 3 things you want to accomplish, moving your body to awaken it. What matters is doing these things before the world begins to claim its share. When you take ownership of your first hour, you take ownership of your day. Science shows that the mind in the morning is like a blank page, highly receptive and deeply influenced for hours afterward. If you let that hour be filled with negative news, comparison, or worry, those seeds will quietly guide your entire day. But if you fill it with clarity, gratitude, and discipline, everything that follows will reflect the quality of those seeds. You can't control every event in your day, but you can control how you enter it. When the first hour belongs to you, you step into the world as the driver, not the passenger. You react less, act more. You're not dragged into the noise because you started your day in stillness. You don't lose your direction because you chose it before your feet hit the ground. The key is to protect this golden hour daily, not just when you feel motivated. It must become a ritual, part of the structure of your life. Habits shape identity, and identity shapes behavior. When your first hour is rooted in discipline and intention, the rest of your day becomes a reflection of it. A day gone by cannot be reclaimed, but every morning is a new chance to do it differently. If you want to change your life, start with the very first moment after you open your eyes. The morning golden hour is the doorway to a new day, a new week, and a new life if you are awake enough to walk through it. The gap between a disciplined day and a distracted one is thinner than you think. Sometimes it comes down to a single choice, a brief moment in the morning. Let your mind drift for just a few extra minutes. Your phone lights up, notifications cascade in, and the plan for a focused day dissolves. But make one decision to hold your course rise, take a deep breath, start your morning ritual, and you've already stepped onto a completely different path. Discipline is not a towering wall you have to build in a day. It's more like a slender rope you must grasp every morning to keep from drifting away. If your first hour is devoted to balance and direction, it sets the interstate you'll carry until night. Lose it, and you'll find yourself chasing other people's priorities, fighting fires that aren't yours, and pouring energy into things that take you nowhere. The difference isn't in the length of your to-do list, it's in how you use your energy. Discipline focuses your energy on what you've chosen. Distraction lets it leak into anything that demands attention. One person might do less yet produce more impact simply because they began their day with one disciplined hour. Another might do countless things, but starting in chaos ends up exhausted with little to show for it. This gap is fragile because both states begin the same way. With an ordinary morning, the difference emerges when you face a choice that seems harmless: keep scrolling or sit down and write the 3 most important tasks for today, reply to messages now, or take a few minutes of silence for yourself. These choices are like small turns in the road, but go far enough and they lead to entirely different destinations. Discipline is not rigid self-punishment, it's the deliberate protection of what matters. When you know exactly what deserves your energy, saying no to the rest is no struggle. Distraction, on the other hand, often begins with vagueness. When you're unclear on what you want, anything can slip in, take space, and pull you off course. The space between discipline and distraction is also the space between living in reaction and living in creation. Those anchored in discipline don't wait for the world to decide their direction. They've already chosen it. Those in distraction let circumstances decide what they will do, feel, and become that day. You don't need perfection to stand on the side of discipline. You only need to recognize that every morning is a new chance to correct your course. If you loosened your grip yesterday, today's still an opportunity to hold the rope again. Hold it often enough, and discipline becomes instinct. Then you no longer struggle to keep yourself on the path carries you. That fragile gap is where you make your choice every day. A simple choice, yet powerful enough to transform your life. Own just one morning hour, and the whole day becomes yours. Own enough days, and your life will be yours. Peace, confidence, and focus are not inborn gifts or lucky accidents. They are skills, mental muscles that must be trained every day. Like the muscles of the body, if you don't use them, they weaken. Train them properly, and they become strong and resilient, able to carry you through even the hardest seasons of life. Peace doesn't come from the world around you becoming quiet. It comes from becoming the kind of person who is no longer controlled by chaos. You can stand in the middle of noise, yet remain still inside. That only happens when you actively protect your inner space, setting boundaries against anything that disturbs your mind. Peace is cultivated in silence, not just outer silence, but the inner calm where you hear and understand yourself before you react to the world. Confidence isn't something that suddenly appears when life is smooth. It's built quietly in the moments you keep your promises to yourself. Every time you say, "I will do this," and you actually follow through, you send yourself a powerful message. I am someone I can rely on. Repeat that message enough, and it becomes the bedrock of unwavering confidence, the kind that doesn't need to shout to prove itself, but is seen in the way you walk into a room, in your gaze, in your composure when facing challenges. Focus is no different. It doesn't come from bursts of inspiration or a perfect environment. It comes from training your mind to cut through distractions over and over again. Focus is like training a puppy. At first, it runs everywhere, drawn to every sound and movement. But with patience, you teach it to sit, to stay, to return when called. Your mind is the same. It will resist at first, try to wander off, but with persistence, it learns to stay with what you choose. The common thread between these three qualities is resistance. You cannot build muscle without weight. You cannot have peace without facing chaos. You cannot have confidence without keeping promises when it's hardest. You cannot have focus without returning to your work after every distraction. When you treat peace, confidence, and focus like muscles, you see that life's challenges are your training ground. A tense conversation is a workout for your peace. A difficult promise is a workout for your confidence. A day full of pings and notifications is a workout for your focus. Every time you overcome, you're not just handling the situation, you're getting stronger for the next one. And just like physical training, results don't come after one workout, they're the product of repetition. Every day you nurture peace, keep your word, and bring your mind back to what matters, you're adding strength to your inner core. Over time, this strength becomes inseparable from who you are. Peace gives you the clarity to see. Confidence gives you the courage to act. Focus gives you the power to finish what you start. When these three work together, you don't just live better, you lead yourself through any circumstance. Remember, no one is born with perfect mental muscles. They are built through training. And every day, you have the chance to step into your gym, not with weights and treadmills, but with your choices and your responses to life. Train long enough, and you won't have to force peace, confidence, or focus. They will be as natural to you as a strong body knowing how to stand tall. Every day, your mind is being programmed. The only question is, are you the one programming it, or are you letting the world do it for you? There is no neutral state. Every piece of information you read, every image you see, every sound you hear leaves an imprint. If you don't consciously choose your inputs, you're passively allowing ads, rumors, and social noise to write the source code that drives your thoughts, emotions, and actions. The world is full of things competing for your attention. Social media is engineered to keep you scrolling for as long as possible. News is curated to trigger the strongest emotional reactions. Even casual conversations can plant seeds of doubt, fear, or comparison. When you take all of this in passively, it slowly shapes how you see yourself and the world until you can no longer tell the difference between your own desires and the ones implanted in you. Self-programming begins with protecting the purest times and spaces in your life. Morning is golden when your mind is freshly awake, soft, and most easily shaped. If you open your phone and let dozens of notifications flood in, you've handed control of today's programming to someone else. But if you spend those first minutes reading a page that feeds your mind, listening to music that soothes it, or simply sitting still and breathing deeply, you're actively writing your own inner code. Self-programming also means curating your environment. Just as your body reflects your diet, your mind reflects the information diet you consume. Ask yourself, the people you listen to, the content you watch, the stories you give your attention to, are they moving you closer to the person you want to become? If the answer is no, have the courage to cut them out or replace them. More importantly, programming yourself isn't just about avoiding the bad, it's about feeding the good. If you want discipline, immerse yourself daily in messages that reinforce discipline. If you want peace, seek out spaces and experiences that nurture stillness. If you want confidence, build the habit of keeping promises to yourself. Just like training a muscle, you can't only avoid junk food, you must give it the right nutrients to grow. The difference between someone programmed by the world and someone who programs themselves is this. One lives in reaction, the other in intention. The reactive person wakes up and lets circumstances decide how they'll feel, think, and act. The intentional person wakes up already knowing, here's where I'll focus, here's what I'll allow in, here's what I'll ignore. You can't block the world entirely, but you can build an inner firewall. Each morning, feed your mind with what you want to be the background music for your day. Each night, clear out what's no longer needed, so your sleep becomes a natural reprogramming cycle. Over time, these choices turn into habits, habits become identity, and identity guides you to live in alignment with the path you've chosen. Self-programming isn't selfish or about isolating yourself from the world. It's how you step into it as the strongest, clearest version of yourself. Because when you own what happens inside, nothing outside can shake you. You cannot control the world, but you can always control how you show up in it. Every day, life will throw events, demands, and chaos your way. You don't get to decide whether the storm comes, but you do get to decide how you stand in it. That is the real power, the power of presence. Presence is not just being physically there, it's being fully awake and engaged in the moment. When you are present, you are not swept away by noise or pressure. You don't react impulsively to every trigger. You see the situation clearly, hear yourself clearly, and make choices based on values rather than fleeting emotions. The power of choice is always in your hands, no matter how harsh the circumstances. You can choose calm over anger, choose to listen instead of interrupt, choose silence over conflict. Every such choice is a reminder that you are steering the ship, not the waves. Presence doesn't happen by accident. It's cultivated through small, consistent habits. Beginning your day in stillness, returning to your breath before answering a question, observing before reacting. Every time you do this, you are training your presence muscle. And once it's strong, it will hold you steady in any situation without losing yourself. People who are truly present have a unique gravity. They don't need to speak much or act loudly, yet others feel their steadiness. That steadiness isn't a facade, it's a foundation built from within. They walk into a room not to seek attention, but to bring the energy of certainty and calm. Living with presence also reveals how much choice you really have. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the creator of your responses and actions. This not only protects your energy, but also changes how the world responds to you. Respect and trust often follow those who stand firm because they offer a sense of safety to those around them. But to maintain presence, you must be willing to turn away from what pulls you out of it. This might mean setting boundaries with social media, reducing meaningless conversations, or declining invitations, will scatter your focus. Each time you protect your presence, you strengthen your power of choice. Presence is also the bridge between wise action and impulsive reaction. Instead of being swept up in the world's frantic pace, you set your own. Instead of letting others define success or happiness, you decide what they mean to you. And from that place, you begin leading your life instead of being led. The power of choice and the strength of presence are not luxuries for easy days. They matter most on hard ones. When the world is chaotic, presence is your anchor. When emotions surge, choice is the pause that recalibrates you. And when everything seems out of your hands, they remind you there is still one thing you always own: how you show up right now. Inspiration is a spark, but if it's not nurtured, it fades as quickly as it appears. What turns a flash of light into a lasting glow is intentional repetition. Not mindless repetition, but the deliberate practice of repeating actions, habits, and thoughts that align with the person you want to become. Inspiration can get you started, but only repetition keeps you going. That's why people who achieve lasting change always have rituals and clear structures that reinforce what they believe in. They don't wait for motivation to act, they act to create motivation. And when an action is repeated enough times, it stops being a task and becomes part of your identity. Intentional repetition is like rewriting your own code. Each morning you choose stillness over scrolling, you're adding a line to your internal program. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen the belief that you are trustworthy. Each time you return to important work after a distraction, you teach your brain that focus is a priority. These small repetitions, over time, accumulate into the force that shapes how you think, feel, and live. The difference between someone who truly changes and someone whose change is fleeting lies in their ability to turn lessons into habits. A powerful quote, an inspiring video, A profound experience, they can move you deeply, but if you let them pass, the feeling fades. If you integrate them into daily rituals, reading them again, reflecting, applying them, they become part of who you are. Intentional repetition isn't boring. Each round is a chance to deepen, to feel more, to refine. Like a musician playing the same piece, yet discovering new nuances each time. You'll find new layers of meaning when you live by the same principle over time. The key is choosing the right things to repeat. If you let your mind absorb random input from the world, you're still repeating, but it's the repetition of noise, doubt, and distraction. Intentional repetition means choosing a message, a value, a way of living, and reinforcing it until it becomes your natural reflex. With time, change no longer demands the same effort it once did. You don't force yourself to focus. You simply are someone who values focus. You don't remind yourself to live with discipline. Discipline has become your way of being. This is the turning point when action and identity merge, when doing the right thing is no longer a choice, but an instinct. Intentional repetition also gives you a quiet advantage. It keeps you steady when the world shifts. While others chase the latest trend, you stay anchored to your core principles. When pressure and chaos rise, ingrained habits hold you firm. You don't wonder, what should I do? You simply do what you've always done. If you want to turn a spark of inspiration into a new life, make it a ritual. Repeat it daily until it becomes your second nature. In the end, we don't live by what we hope for, or say we live by what we do over and over again. And when what you repeat is chosen with intention, your identity will transform, and with it, your life will too.